Hey, I'm Mr. Scholl. I'm one of the AP Calculus teachers here at Ayala. I've taught AP Calculus AB for quite a while. Most years, Mrs. Saeed has an AB class, so I always put her name on here. But if you have any questions about this, please contact me. I'll have a little bit more about that at the end here. Okay, here we go. Let's click through. All right, so first thing, I don't know. I'm kind of following my normal PowerPoint thing. So the warm up, if you're going to be in Calculus AB, there are two great ways to go. One of them, notice Calculus AB is right here. One of them is Integrated Math 1, wherever you are, Integrated Math 2 Honors, Integrated Math 3 Honors, and then Calculus AB. It actually kind of matters if you take if you take Math 2 Honors and 3 Honors here at Ayala, because our Math 2 Honors and Math 3 Honors has Math 2, Math 3, and Pre-Calculus all rolled into 2 years. And so that's how we're able to get you 3 years of prerequisite knowledge and then ready to go. So really Math 1, Math 2, Math 3, Pre-Calculus are all things you're going to need. The way most of you are going to get into the class or get prepared for the class is to take Integrated 2 Honors as freshmen, Integrated 3 Honors as sophomores. Then I will see you next year for your junior year. And then you can take Calculus BC with Mrs. Saeed after that. Okay. Well, you'll learn about that next year, but hopefully you're paying attention to, did you understand? So I also want to give you objectives. By the end of this presentation, you should know kind of what calculus maybe not is all about, but a little idea of what calculus is. So I already gave you a little bit, but I'm also going to tell you what the prerequisite knowledge and skills are and why you need to know that stuff before coming into Calculus AB. And then I'm going to kind of give you some expectations from some feelings for the class. I'm also going to talk about what the class is like, how we do, that sort of thing. I have this slide almost every day, just, hey, stuff to watch out for. And, calculus probably isn't the easiest subject, but the calculus part of calculus is not that hard. Like I said, not that easy either. But calculus gets a reputation for being difficult because all that stuff you learned in Math 1 and Math 2 and Math 3 Honors, Pre-Calculus, whatever, you have to know that stuff and be able to use it right away. And if you don't, well, that's what's the hard part. The calculus isn't. So if you look through this list, here's a list of a bunch of stuff you should have seen, you should have practiced. Linear functions, polynomial functions, rational functions, exponential functions, all this stuff. And you can look through that, pause the video. Now, it's not that I expect you to know everything perfectly. Just like any other math class, things come up and we'll review and I'll remind you of things. But, if you come in behind, hey, you don't know this stuff, you haven't practiced enough, a common thing there is, oh, I took this math class to get caught up over the summer. Well, the class you took in the summer in whatever it was, 4 weeks, some super high achieving kids took 9 months last year to take that class. So even though you might have seen the material, you might start out behind. And we actually saw quite a bit of that this year. Before I move on, one thing, I was noticing also kind of a big change this year. In past years, most students' grades in 3 Honors kind of correspond to their grades in my class. And almost every student that had a C in 3 Honors got lower than a C this year. So I'm going to talk to Mrs. Rushan and Mrs. Allen, make sure you guys are good to go. Or maybe you folks should check with them. If you're like, hey, I'm doing pretty well. Obviously, if you have an A, a B, all good to go. If you're not sure because your grade's like a C, ask your current teacher how they think you'd do. So one thing I want to give you just a little bit of a feel for is how calculus is a little bit different. If you're interested, you can go buy this book, Infinite Powers by Stephen Strogatz. Kind of cool. So let me see. I need to pull up this. Okay, so there are 2 types or 2 halves of calculus in Calculus AB. There's differential calculus, which we start off with, and integral calculus. So just a little idea here. So there's a circle that's segmented into 3 parts. And if we drag this slider over, it kind of rearranges and who the heck knows. And really, this is about a way to find the area of a circle in a kind of non-weird way. So if we segment this circle into more pieces, we kind of get a different shape. I'm going to give you even more pieces, and maybe you can kind of see where this is going. And as we add more and more segments from the circle, we can drag these back and forth. Well, what happens to the rectangle? Well, it's not really a rectangle, but it's starting to look like a rectangle in a way that, back here, three pieces wasn't a rectangle. But, as we segment that circle into more and more and more and more pieces, and then just kind of rearrange them, we can almost make a rectangle. And, let's go slowly again. What's the height of that rectangle as we take each of these triangles and flip half upside down? Well, each of those radii makes the height. And then, what's the length? Well, that's kind of a weird one too. You might think that the length should be the circumference of the circle. The circumference of the circle is twice pi r, 2 pi r. But remember, we actually only have half of the circumference up here. The other half is on the bottom. So we basically get a rectangle. And as we do a whole bunch, it really becomes a rectangle. Now, another thing you'll get used to is in calculus, 1,000 is kind of a small number. A lot of times we work with big numbers, but you can kind of see here that a circle segmented it into 100 pieces is basically going to make a rectangle, the radius as its height, and pi r as its length. And then hopefully the area of a circle is 2 pi r squared, and that's kind of a nice thing. So that's kind of just an interesting thought experiment that comes from integral calculus, which is when we're cutting things up. Okay, so calculus is kind of fun and interesting. So the next thing I want to talk about is how we fare on the test. We meaning Calculus AB at Ayala. And I think I have this ready to go. So these are my score reports, or the score reports from the students in my class, and they're pretty darn similar to Mrs. Saeed's score reports. We worked well together, all that sort of stuff. So what I want to point out here is a couple of things. It's a good number to note. A 3, if you don't know, passes. A 4 is you did well, and a 5 is the best score you can get. So 88% of our students, way back in, this is 2022, passed. Our school was a little bit lower. You can see the average for passing in California is 58%, so we're way above that. And global is a little bit less, 55%. So we're good to go. And I don't really need to call all of this out, except for if you notice the scores of 5s, because it's how many students scored a 1, a 2, a 3, a 4, a 5. Right here, 55% in overall. 60%, maybe we just look at the overall. 55% of our students that year got the highest score possible. That's pretty darn great. And then the mean score of all the students was in the 4s. So that's pretty good. Shows us we're doing really well. And you can see that here. In California, the mean score is just barely above a 3, and the average overall is a 2.91. If you don't understand why the average is less than passing, and more than half of the people pass, you need to check out Mrs. Novi's statistics class. She'll be able to teach you that. So then in 2023, we improved a bit. You'll notice the scores are pretty darn similar. The test overall was kind of a little bit easier. 51% of the students earned a 5 that year. 93.7, almost 94% passed. The mean score went up just a little bit, so we're scoring better overall. We had a few lower 1s and 2s, which is a bummer, but that happens. Some students come in without the skills, without the knowledge. Hey, I was able to get into the class. I tricked my counselor into putting me in there. Okay, that's okay. I'll teach anybody that comes in. In fact, this year I have 2 freshmen that are lights out. They're kicking butt. They're completely prepared, and other students don't. But if you think you're ready, you probably are. So last year, pretty similar scores. 93.1% got a 3 or higher. 54% got 5s. 33% got 4s. And, that's pretty similar. Hopefully we'll do better. I wish that we could have 100% of the students pass with a 5. or heck, even pass, but it just doesn't happen every year. But that's not going to stop us from trying. So, what about classroom grades? Well, my idea is the grade should pretty much match the scores on the test. So, I do like to keep track of that. And this is kind of the easiest way to show you what the grades in my class look like, without giving names, because if I give names on there, people take that personally, sometimes in the positive way or negative way. So each week at the end of the week, I have this spreadsheet where I can track everything from Aries. And you can see this is the first week of the year, the second week of the year. There we go, the third week of the year. And it gives me a change. So I can see, how many percent have an A overall, A minus, A plus, but over here it'll give me all of the A's. And so I just kind of keep track of that. And you'll notice, these are pretty similar to the AP scores I showed you. Because, every year after I get the scores back, we like to go back, do the analysis, make sure things look right. So, it's usually over half the kids have an A, and they do fluctuate up and down a bit here. About 30% have B's. Not many have F's, but there's always a couple who weirdly sign up for an AP calculus class and choose not to do any work whatsoever. I don't recommend that plan, but I suppose it's a plan. Okay, so what am I going to, obviously it's a math class. I'm going to provide you with, we're going to be in class and we're going to do work. There's homework, there's lectures, stuff like that. But I also want to set you up for success. So I use Teams, which I know is a big deal. People are like, I like Google Classroom. Well, whatever. I have so much stuff in here. I'm not willing to change. So I'm redoing everything all this year, so it's nice and pretty, but I'm in Teams and I have all our PowerPoint printout. So if you miss a day, you're out sick, you go to Disneyland or whatever it is, everything's in here and you can get the notes, with all the annotations if you need them. So that's kind of cool. Also in here are a whole bunch of solutions. So like tonight's solutions, that you can go in here. And it's not every single homework assignment, but by this point, it's like 90% of them. Not just the answer, but the solutions are in there in case students need help, need reference, all that sort of stuff. Something else I'm doing a great job with this year, I've meant to for a long time, is making a video of all those lectures. So that way students, this is in YouTube, so I suppose you could watch these now. So that way students, if they need to, can go back, rewatch those, retake notes, or, if you're out of town, do that sort of stuff. I've also, for certain assignments, maybe I'll do it for all, is made new solution guides and then kind of just recorded myself explaining how to do most of the problems. So people have found that to be helpful. Come on, switch gears here. Okay, so those are the big ones. Because if you're thinking, oh, it's going to be a hard class, it is a hard class, but AP Calculus is just another math class. If you did well in 2 honors and 3 honors, you're going to have no problem in AP Calculus. Okay, so I do want to let you know some differences because AP Calculus AB does feel different than Math 2 honors and 3 honors. So over here on the right-hand side is it something that's hugely different. The thing at the end, you guys think of that as, the answer, and if you have the answer correct, great. But we're not just grading because the College Board on the AP test isn't just grading the thing at the end. Math is a logical process. So that thing at the end, that's not as important as your work and your thought process. And this is actually taken from an AP test. They give us some release things. And you actually need to show how to get from point A to point B. So something you'll hear me say a lot is your work is your answer. And that's because your work shows what you know. And so the weird thing I'll get you used to, and I'll teach you all this stuff and we'll get you ready. So there are plenty of times where the correct thing at the end, what you call the answer, isn't going to be counted because the way you got there doesn't have enough supporting evidence, or, the supporting evidence is wrong. You wrote something that was like magic, not math. I have a cat that's currently making noise. Sorry about that. Anyways, so again, here's some more stuff from the expectations from a calculus test. And another thing that's going to be different is I'm going to get you speaking more. And, if you're comfortable speaking to me in the whole class, great. But I'm at least going to get you talking to the people around you because the person speaking is the person thinking. You're like this, you're going to have to be able to write about math. So you need to practice that in class. Another thing to think about. And again, I will teach you this stuff. I will help you with it. At the beginning of the year, the expectations are, hey, you don't know this stuff, but nothing's going to be interpreted. What you write on the page is what's graded. If you write, well, you just have to be precise in what you write, and we will teach you how to do that as well. Okay. Now, some differences. And this might sound weird. You don't have to do everything correctly in order to do well. Ask your parents. No one expects you to be perfect all the time, although, dang, I suppose that's nice. And so something that's going to feel different is the tests and quizzes are written like the AP test. So you probably won't finish and you probably won't get everything correct. Another way to say that is, it's going to feel like the tests are graded on a curve, but they're graded on a scale. On the AP test, about every year, the floor for getting a 5, the lowest thing you can get is about 70% of the points. So on the tests and quizzes we give you, you're not going to be able to get all the points. Or if you're scoring really high, if you're getting like 90% of the points, you're getting like extra credit. There's no way you should be able to finish it and know that much. So that's kind of a mental block for a lot of students, but once they get used to it, oh, shoot, I don't know how to do this part. Cool, I'll just find the next part that I can do. And so it's just something we have to get you used to. Something else that's different, which is nice. AP Calculus AB is the shortest math class on campus. We usually finish the new material by the end of February. That's really awesome. Most AP classes are really long, but in Calculus AB, we have tons of time for review. And that review is practice tests, and it's multiple choice, and it's going back and reviewing, harder material that we need more practice on, all that sort of stuff. Okay. The other great thing is we're not on rails. We have plenty of time to slow down. If we need to go back and, hey, Mr. Shaw, I understand what we're doing. Can we have another day, another 2 days so you can reteach and we can practice this stuff more? Yeah, we actually have tons of time to do that. So this is really good. Our administration has asked us to give you some information, and you can read through all of this or whatever, but really the big change this year, we haven't figured out how exactly we're going to prepare kids for it, but we're working on it, is that all the AP tests, AP Calculus AB and BC, are digital. So we're going to practice online. You're going to do them online. You don't have to worry about that. We'll get you prepared, but just that's a little bit different. So I hope this answered everything. Parents, if you have any questions, please email me. My email address is on the screen. The best way to go, though, if you have any questions and you're a little bit confused, students, stop by my room. I'm in F101. That's going to be a lot more efficient on both our ends. We can have a quick conversation or a long conversation instead of emailing me back and forth. All right. I'm looking forward to see you folks next year. Bye.